Good morning, students. I welcome you all for this English session of today. Hope you are all doing fine, very well safe at home, doing your online classes with dedication. Right. Now, in the previous class, I was giving an introduction of this in celebration of being alive. And I told you that we have to thank God for giving us life in this world to live a healthy, happy life. Are you thanking God? Right. Now let us see the lesson. I have given you the gist. Towards the end only I have to explain something. The remaining I will just read it out and just give you explanation as and when it is needed. Just take your books, children. Take page number 67. See, children, on that day when I was giving you that, when we were doing that warming up there, that John Milton, he has some visual impediment, I told you, and his achievement is in literature. And I told you that he has written an epic. That is the only epic that is written in English. And I told you that it is a completed epic, but it is an incomplete epic. So that's a correction that it is an only incomplete epic in English literature. The Paradise Lost, which is written by the blind poet. Right, now let us come to the lesson. We all know that Dr. Christian Barnard was the first doctor to perform a heart transplant surgery. Here we have an extract of his speech wherein he narrates an experience which has changed his perspective of life altogether. Let us find out what led to such a dramatic transformation. Let us see what incident has transformed his life. Right. More and more, as I near the end of my career as a heart surgeon, my thoughts have turned to the consideration of why people should suffer. So, as I grew older and older, as I get more and more experience in my life, I have a doubt why people suffer in this world. People used to say some people suffer because of the good or bad that they have done. But good people also suffer. Those who are doing some evils also suffer in their life. So this make me to ask more and more questions. Why people suffer? This is the doubt that Bernard could not clear it off as he grew older and older. Suffering seems so cruelly prevalent in the world today. Everywhere we could see people suffering. Very common phenomena it is. Suffering is a very common phenomena. The previous day they were just very healthy, happy, they were doing all the work and they have plenty of things to do in future also. But the very next day we could hear that they have passed away from this world. Why this suffering? Leaving a very one family on the street without nobody to take care of. So this is the question which has just interrupted him very often. Do you know that of the 125 million children born this year, 12 million are unlikely to reach the age of 1 and another 6 million will die before the age of 5. So out of 125 million children, 12 million pass away before reaching the age of 1. And 6 million people die in this world before the age of 5. What a great pathetic situation it is. How the parents will be feeling. So this make him ask questions after questions why people should suffer in this world. And of the rest, many will end up as mental or physical cripples. So, and some of them, before they grow up, they become some mentally diseased persons or physical handicaps, cripples, disabilities, right? So this is the question which was often asked by our Dr. Bernard as he grow older and older, as he get more experience. My gloomy thoughts probably stem from an accident I had a few years ago. One minute I was crossing the streets with my wife after a lovely meal together, and the next minute a car had hit me and knocked me into my wife. She was thrown into the other lane and stuck up by a car coming from the opposite direction. So, this I have told you when I was giving you the gist. So, after a meal from a hotel, they were crossing the road, and all on a sudden, a car had hit him and knocked me into my wife. She was thrown to the other lane, and from the opposite direction, another car just hit her. During the next few days in the hospital, I experienced not only agony and fear but also anger. So, the next few days, I was suffering because of my pain, the situation in which my wife was just lying down in bed. All this make me to get pain after pain, one after another. I was thinking, what is the reason for it? Very happily, we were coming out from the hotel, but within a few seconds, this is the pitiable situation. And I got a little angry also. I could not understand why my wife and I had to suffer. What is the reason behind it? See, I have a responsibility as a doctor. My wife has a family to take care of, children also to take care of. But all on a sudden, this is the condition. Why? Why I had to suffer like this? This is the question which was just in his mind. I had 11 broken ribs and a perforated lung. So, my ribs were broken and 11 broken ribs I had. And I have perforated lung, that is damaged with holes here and there in the lungs. My wife had a badly fractured shoulder. Over and over I asked myself, why should this happen to us? What is the reason for this agony all on a sudden in our family? How much mental torture I am undergoing just because of this incident. Just happily I was coming out from the, this is the thing that we used to wonder very often in our life also. I was very quiet, happily spending my days. All on a sudden this incident has happened and totally changed my life. How it has happened, why it has happened, what sin I have done in my life. What is the reason behind it? Whether God has no eyes? All these questions we'll be asking one after another to us as we grow older and mature. I ask myself, why should this happen to us? I had work to do. After all, I was working as a doctor. Thousands of people were there just believing in me, believing me. They believe that I'm just like a God to them. I had work to do after all. I have to take care of them. I have to take care of my patients. There were patients waiting for me to operate on me. So many people are there waiting for me to just undergo their operation. My wife had a young baby who needed her care. We have a small baby also. My wife has to take care of this. But now she is in the hospital. What will be the situation of my child? Who will take care of my child? Why this has come to me? This is the question he asked one after another when this accident happens to him. My father had he still been alive, would have said. So from this we could understand that his father is no more. If my father were alive, he will say, my son, it's God's will, that's why God tests you. Suffering ennobles you, makes you a better person. If my father were alive, he will say that God has given this to you just to test you, to make you better. It is God's will. You can't say anything and he will just wind up. If my father was. So when we undergo these things, some people will come to console us saying that it is God's will. We cannot do anything. They will say this is common. So just like that, Christian Bernard's father also used to say that it is, if he were alive, he will say that it is God's will. See in the Bible, in the book of Job, you could see that he has undergone suffering in his life. And even his wife is not favoring him. And his friends came, and one after another they said, just because of your sin, you have undergone this suffering. This is because of your sin, they will say. So, just like that, this is a common saying, just because of our sin. But as far as we analyze the persons who are undergoing this, we don't know what is the reason. It is a mystery. We do not know. Just we leave it to God's will. Anyway, if Bernard's father was there, he will say that it is just God has given it to you as per his will and make you to get better. But as a doctor, I see nothing noble in the patients thrashing around in a sweat-soaked bed, mind clouded in agony, nor can I see any nobility in the crying of a lonely child in the ward at night. So as far as I am concerned, I do not feel that it is no nobility is there in being a patient lying down in the bed with a clouded, agonized mind. Nor can I see any nobility in the crying of lonely child in the ward at night. One child is put in there, and no, the parents are just outside the room. And what is that nobility there? He couldn't believe what his father says. Father would have said. In those days, they didn't have sophisticated heart surgery. I have always found the suffering of children particularly heartbreaking, especially because of their total trust in doctors and nurses. They believe you are going to help them. If you can't, they accept their fate. They go through mutilating surgery and afterwards they don't complain. So usually in olden days, there is no sophisticated surgery or medical facilities as we have nowadays for all the diseases. So, I have always found children suffering. Particularly, I have some favor, just sympathy towards the children who are suffering. Heartbreaking, especially because of their total trust in doctors and nurses. They believe you are going to help them. They think that you are just like God. Just like God, they believe in you. If you can't, they accept their fate. So if during the surgery or after that, if they pass away, the parents will think that it is God's will and they won't complain also. One morning, so from here, that incident which has changed his life occurred. Just listen. One morning, several years ago, I witnessed what I call a Grand Prix. I witnessed what I call the Grand Prix of Cape Town's Red Cross Children's Hospital. It opened my eyes to the fact that I was missing something in all my thinking about suffering. Something basic that was full of solace for me. So one morning, several years ago, I just witnessed an incident in Cape Town's Red Cross Children's Hospital. In that children's hospital, I have witnessed an incident that has totally changed my attitude. That Grand Prix is one of the several international motor race events. Here, the incident that occurred there, our author is just comparing it to the Grand Prix, right? International motor car race event, he says, right? It is just an incident, but he has just connected it to the Grand Prix, that's all. That incident gave comfort to him, consoled him, favored him, just make him to shed away all the thoughts that he had so far, why people suffer. What happened there that morning was that a nurse had left a breakfast trolley unattended. So that morning, one nurse has brought a breakfast trolley with breakfast for the patients maybe. And very soon, this trolley was commanded by an intrepid crew of two, a driver and a mechanic. So it was there, the trolley was there, maybe in the corridor of the hospital. All of a sudden, the nurse was not there. Two children, he says it is a crew of two people. Two people, bold and daring people, two children just came there. One is a driver and a mechanic. The one is a driver, the other one is a mechanic. The mechanic provided motor power by galloping along behind the trolley with his head down. You can see this in the picture. What the mechanic was doing, he provided motor power to the by galloping along being behind the trolley with his head down. He was just pushing it. While the driver seated on the moor deck held on with one hand and steered by scraping his foot on the floor. So he was just pulling it. Playfully, they were doing it. The choice of roles were easy because the mechanic was totally blind and the driver had only one arm. So now you can just imagine what will happen to the trolley because it is just operated by two people. One was totally blind, visually challenged person, a small child, and the other has no one lost its hand. So if these two people operated that trolley, what will be the situation of it? That two small children. They put on quite a show that day, judging by the laughter and shouts of encouragement from the rest of the patients. So it was they had the hospital had a full fun that day because one after another all the plates were just falling one by one behind the other on the corridor maybe. So all the patients who were standing there, who were just lying down on bed even, they started to laugh. It was a much better entertainment than anything anyone puts on at the Indianapolis 500 car race. There was a grand final of scattered plates and silverware before the nurse and ward sister caught up with them, scolded them, and put them back to bed. So they just gone to the climax. At the climax, grand final, that is the climax, exciting end. That time, at the exciting stage, what happened is plates were scattered here and there, silverware were just scattered, and by hearing the sound of the plates, nurse and the ward sister came, caught both the children and scolded them and threw them back to the bed. So this is the incident that has happened. How could it change our other? Dr. Bernard was a heart surgeon, doctor, a small incident, but it changed his mind. Just listen. Can you follow me, children? Yes. Let me tell you about these two boys. Now the thing is, I will tell you about these two children. The mechanic was all of 7 years old. So the age of that mechanic is 7 years old. He is a small child. 7 years old he is. One night, when his mother and father were drunk, his mother threw a lantern at his father, missed, and the lantern broke over the child's head and shoulders. One day, the father and mother of this child, they were just quarreling after a drink. And this lady, in anger, she threw a lantern, a small lamp, on her husband's face, on her husband. And it missed the mark, and it was just, it fell on the child's head and shoulders. He suffered severe third-degree burns on the upper part of his body. Just because of this, his upper part of his body got burnt. He lost both his eyes. Because of that incident, he lost his eyes. So first the child could see everything. After this fight because of the fight of the parents, the child lost his eyes. Just imagine. At the time of the Grand Prix, he was a walking horror with a disfigured face and long flap of skin hanging from the side of his neck to his body. So at the Grand Prix, at the climax, he was just acting very quickly with the disfigured face. What is disfigured face? Just because of that wound on his face, several operations might have the child might have undergone, and there will be, if you have seen this wounded people, that is who got burnt, some tissues will be taken from some other part of the body, and they sometimes they find it even difficult to look straight also. So this child has that problem. He could not just look straight. Skin hanging from the side of his neck to his body, that is his face. It has a marred face. He has. As the wound healed around his neck, his lower jaws became gripped and in a mass of fibrous tissue. The only way this little boy could open his mouth was to raise his head. So when if he wished to open his mouth even, he has to raise his head, and then only he could open his. That is the situation in which the child is. Just imagine, previously he was a very good child who has both the eyes he could see, right? Now he has become a blind person, and even that face is not good. Here and there some surgeries, and he underwent some surgeries, and if he wish to open his mouth, he has to look up and then open his mouth. When I stopped by to see him after the race, he said, "You know, we won," and he was laughing. After this nurse and the warden scolded the child, and they made him to lie down in the bed, and he was just lying down. And when he met the doctor, he might have come near to ask or to see him how he is, his physical condition. He said, "You know, we won the race, but before we complete the work, this nurse might have thrown me in the bed, but the thing is, I won." And he was laughing like anything. Very successfully, I have completed my work in the morning. That is what he was telling. Hope you understand what it is, right, children? The thing is, and he was laughing. He was very happy about his successful achievement. Now, this is about the first person who was 7 years old. Now, about the trolley's driver, I knew better. Because the trolley driver, that boy who has some infirmities, and he was undergoing treatment under Dr. Bernard. The trolley's driver I knew better. A few years earlier, I had successfully closed a hole in his heart. So already he is a heart patient. And Dr. Bernard is the one who has closed a hole in the heart. He had returned to the hospital because he had malignant tumor of the bone. Now, once he underwent the surgery and got cured with his heart problem, but now he is again admitted in the hospital for malignant tumor of the bone. A very harmful disease to life, right? A few days before the race, his shoulder and arm were amputated. A few days before, his shoulder and arm were amputated, cut off by a surgical operation. His arm was removed. Just imagine, there was a little hope of his recovery. Very little hope is there. There is no hope for his recovery at all. After the Grand Prix, he proudly informed me that the trolley's wheels were not properly oiled. But he was a good driver. He said very happily, "I am a very good driver. I have done my best. But the thing is, the wheels of the trolley is not oiled properly. That is why the small problem arises. Otherwise, it will be, I would have been more successful than this. Since it is not properly oiled, there was some problem. But I am a good driver. You cannot blame me. I was driving. I was doing my work well." And he had full confidence in the mechanic also. So this incident, what is this incident? Two children, you can just, now you know in what situation they are. They are in the hospital. One even cannot open his mouth without looking up. One has no and blind also. The other one has no arms and he has a hole in his heart. So in this condition, they said, we have won. See the attitude of the first child. The second one, I'm a good driver, but the engine has, this wheels is not being oiled properly. That is the reason for that small problem. So they both have full confidence on themselves. Hope you understand, children. Suddenly, I realized that these two children had given me a profound lesson in getting on with the business of living. Because the business of living is joy in the real sense of the word. Not just coming for pleasure, amusement, recreation. The business of living is the celebration of being alive. So suddenly, I realized that these two children had given me a very great lesson. They have taught me a great lesson in getting on with the business of living. See, comparing my life to these children, my life is nothing. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm blessed with everything. But I don't have the satisfaction as these two children have. That incident just changed his attitude towards his life. Because the business of living is joy in the real sense of the word, not just something for pleasure or amusement, recreation. The business of living is the celebration of being alive. So business of living is celebration of being alive. So we have to celebrate every day that God has blessed us. See how these children are celebrating their life. I had been looking at suffering from the wrong end. So now Bernard has got a change of mind. And he thinks that he had been looking at suffering from the wrong end. So his attitude towards suffering is the one which has gone wrong. Right? I told you in the second or third class, I think, about the attitude towards the problems that we face. With an example of three children facing the same exam problem, and one has committed suicide, the other one stopped his education, the other one gone ahead with his studies. So the attitude towards life is different. So here Bernard understood that business of living is the celebration of being alive. I had been looking at suffering from the wrong end. You don't become a better person because you are suffering. It is not making you a better person. Because of suffering, you will never become a better person. But you become a better person because you have experienced suffering. Because of your experience through suffering, you will become a better person. We cannot appreciate light if we have in no darkness. Say all on a sudden, if there is spark at, how we will be suffering till our mother lights the candle, right? Unless we know the no darkness, we do not know the value of light. As we walk through the road in a hot day, we will be just finding out, just searching where is that shady place. And from a distance itself, we just move to the place where there is shade. So, unless you know the value of hotness, sun, you cannot appreciate shade. Right. Nor can we appreciate warmth if we have never suffered cold. So, unless we don't know what is cold, we cannot appreciate warmth. These children showed me that it is not that what you have lost that is important. What is important is what you have left. So the children have taught a very good lesson to Dr. Bernard that It is not what you have lost is important. What you have left is more important than the other one. Right? Right. Life is not simply pleasure or amusement, recreation, but more a celebration of being alive. Now, life is actually a sequence of experiences. Let us learn to celebrate every experience, every moment, every breath of life, and live a joyful, whether it is good or bad, which favors you, maybe it is unfavorable to you, whatever it is, live in joy. That is what is said in the Bible also. So, rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say, rejoice. Live in joy, whatever may be the condition in which you are. Don't bother. Be happy. Don't you think that our lives are still better than the suffering that we are undergoing? Are you not thinking that our life is better than the suffering? The point to ponder, every one of us have our own set of problems. And the beauty of life is to experience, learn, stand up each time we fall. So each time when we fall, you must just get up boldly and say that I have not fallen. It is a slip, and celebrate every moment in our life. I told you an incident from Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of America, that one after another, his life is full of sorrows, sufferings, failures after failures. But every time, see, he contested in the election for many times, and almost all the times he failed. He met with failure. And he got engaged with a lady, and before marriage, the lady also passed away, demised. And when he come across all the failures in his life, every time he used to say that it is a slip, not a fall. It is just a slip. I have not fallen. I just slipped and now got up. So that type of attitude you must have towards our life. So we have to celebrate every moment. Thus, optimism at its highest level, because thus we must live a optimistic life in this world, because life is very beautiful for us to live. God has blessed this world and given to us beautifully for us to live in this world, to have a successful, succeeded life. Hope you understand, children, the lesson. Read it. You will just find out the meanings and other things, and read it with the sincerity and find out the minor details. And if you have any doubt, you just ask me. Go through the glossary of it. And consideration, careful thought. Prevalent, common. Crippled, people with some disability, preventing them from performing certain normal functions. Agony, extreme physical and mental suffering. Perforated, torn and damaged with holes. Ennobles, makes dignified, morally noble. Thrash around, to move about. Sophisticated, well advanced. Mutilating surgery involving removal of tissues, even at the risk of worsening of the patient's condition. Grand Prix, one of several international motor racing events. Here it refers to the people, that two children's race. Solace, comfort. Interpret, bold and daring. Final, climax, or an exciting end. Disfigured, spoiled or marred in appearance. Malignant, very harmful to life. Tumor, diseased growth in some part of the body. Amputated, cut off by surgical operation. Profound, very great. Now the questions answers are there. Just go through the book that I have recommended and read it. Let's take that vocabulary area. Go through the lesson and spot the words which mean the same as following. In para 1, can you do it as homework? I don't think that you'll be doing it. Am I right, children? Or we will just do it as homework? Profession, the word is in paragraph 1. The meaning is career. career. Sorrowful, gloomy. Gloomy. So do it as homework, children, okay? Read the lesson and finish this and the B. Go through the lesson and spot the words opposite to the meaning of the following. That also the paragraph is given. Just find out and I will just read the correct answer in the next class. Okay? Bye, children.